All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Resolve Office Hours. We're excited to have you all here to chat with Charles and I about ROI and SEO. So how to better project ROI, how to better discuss ROI, and then prove the ROI of your SEO efforts. So really excited to talk about this, this conversation with everybody. While we're waiting, while people are jumping in here, we want to give, some of those more less punctual people some time to get in. But if you just want to throw in the chat where you're joining us from, I would love to hear where our audience is all at. As for me, I'm based here in Boise, Idaho. It's a nice snowy day outside, so we're getting that winter action here for sure. We got Charlie from Arizona, from Phoenix. I'm sure you don't have snow right now on your end, which is great. All right. So yeah, we're getting super excited to chat with you all today about how to project SEO or ROI on SEO, how to discuss that internally with higher ups, and then from there, how to better track it and attribute the great work that you're doing on SEO.
We got snow here today too, Michael.
Oh, you
Here
do,
I'm
New Jersey?
yeah, I'm in New Jersey. We just had a nor'easter come through. Oh, I see some people someone from Westfield, New Jersey, so they probably got some snow as well. Yeah, I got like 5 or 6 inches over the weekend, which was a good storm for us, which is more snow than we've had for years.
Yeah.
We've had a very dry couple winters here in the Northeast.
Yep, 5-6 inches of snow. It's usually that's a good downpour just about anywhere, I feel like, unless you're like up in the mountains or something. All right, well, let's go ahead and we'll just kind of start introducing the topic here a little bit. So, number one, the idea behind the webinars here and way we like to do things here at Resolve is we focus on providing authentic, accessible SEO. So really authentic meaning we got real people here who are going to talk to you at a real level. Accessible, we want this to be something that anybody at any level of their SEO journey can find valuable information from, that they can walk away from and apply something today that will improve how they do SEO for their company. So today we've got Charles with us. Charles is the Senior Director of SEO at Fox. I've done many a webinar with Charles. We know each other for quite a long time now. So we like to get together every once in a while and share some stuff that we've been working on and learning with the audience. One thing to keep in mind here is that these webinars are designed to be interactive. We were going to share about a 15-minute, 20-minute presentation here with the group. And then after, it's going to be an AMA workshop. Submit questions, submit things you're working on. Just send us your website if you want us to review it and give you some tips and ideas. Things are going to get answered on a first come, first served basis. So throw those in the Q&A or throw those in the chat, and I'll get those compiled and put together, and then we'll answer questions for you at the end of the webinar. So what are we going to cover today? We've got a few main topics that we're going to discuss. First of all, why is ROI hard to predict? This whole webinar came from a conversation that Charles and I had on LinkedIn. Next is how to sell those SEO projects internally, how to get buy-in. Next, we're going to talk about how to identify opportunities and use gaps to project ROI, to project growth. Next, we'll talk about SEO and first-party data, kind of adding to that equation of what's going to make SEO so valuable going forward as the landscape with cookies and tracking continues to change. And then last, how to show your results and how to discuss those results internally. So the genesis of this webinar, it came from a post by Eli Schwartz in LinkedIn, where he said, "This has been true my whole career." And it says, "Mom, who is your favorite? Sweetie, I love you both equally." And this is the CMO telling that to SEO. And then as soon as SEO goes away, she turns to paid and says, "It's you, and by a lot." And I commented, CMOs will spend $500,000 per month on PPC and then have a heart attack over a $5,000 a month spend on SEO, and then wonder why SEO isn't delivering the same ROI. We just consistently see that where SEO doesn't quite get the love that it should. And so Charles, been thinking a lot about this himself, and I said, hey, let's do a webinar about it. So here we are. So kind of that joke of like, hey, the $500,000 a month on ads, no problem, but $10,000 on SEO is the end of the world. The reason why this kind of comes the way this works out is paid and PPC often has ROAS associated to it. there's a very direct, like, hey, I put $1 in and I got $4 back, because there's that nice little number that they can find in Google Ads platform that tells them what they got from it. So it's viewed as a simple, quantifiable way for marketers, CMOs, CFOs, CEOs to measure the performance and ROI of their campaigns. On the other side of things, SEO, it's a little bit harder to predict, number one, what you're going to get. And then number two, it can be harder to attribute sales directly from SEO. And a lot of this is because SEO affects the entire marketing funnel, from top of the funnel to bottom of the funnel. Charles, you had a little note here talking about organic traffic not dropping a tracking cookie. Do you want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah, that's something I found in most scenarios where if you have a, let's just say a PPC campaign, an AdWords campaign or something, you're dropping a tracking cookie, you're getting your attribution, and really regardless of the attribution model, there's some kind of tracking that's taking place. But often with the traffic that's coming in organically, it doesn't get specifically tracked. It's actually one of the few things that is tracked. So what ends up happening is, let's just say, for example, someone comes in day 1 of the month organically. Then they come back day 5, and they come back day 10, they come back day 20. But on day 25, they click on the PPC ad and come in and make a purchase. Often, most attribution, especially if it's last click attribution or last touch attribution, will say, oh, that was a PPC, sale, and everyone thinks, wow, what an amazing sale that was. When in reality, there was a flow, there was something that led up to that, and often we're blind to that. So one of my messages to either, whether it's marketing directors or whether it's folks that are in SEO, is make sure you know your numbers well. Make sure you understand how people are coming in. When you start SEO campaigns, look at your other channels, your direct, your referral, and you'll often see those will boost up when you start SEO campaigns.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's so often kind of, the one thing I think about too a lot of the time is, and something I mentioned here, in those longer sales cycle approaches, most people, when they make big purchases, say you're selling a software, you're selling a service, you're selling a high-end, thing, costs thousands of dollars, people aren't going to make that decision in one day where they're just going to, click and buy it and sign up for it. No, they're going to do research. They're going to look for that top of the funnel. They're going to identify a problem. They're going to work their way down. And if they engage with your content up top and get introduced to your brand through SEO, but then don't make that decision longer, you could lose that attribution opportunity, just like you said. But SEO was the initial touch point that brought them in, that introduced them to the brand. And so yeah, there's so many challenges that where the full value of SEO doesn't get recognized.
Definitely.
All right, Charles, I'm going to go ahead and hand the screen over to you and let you kind of walk through your section here about how you initially kind of get that buy-in and get people on board for SEO.
Sure. 1 second, please. Oops, I'm sorry, 1 second. Thought I was prepared, but I wasn't prepared.
No problem. And we already got a couple of websites in the chat here to review, so we're excited for those. Like I said, feel free to submit those in there so we can review in a minute. All right, go ahead, Charles.
All right, so everybody should see just my screen, just my the deck screen. So I always talk about internally when I talk about SEO is you don't pitch, you educate. I always like to try to help, whether it's folks above me or whether there's stakeholders, come to a conclusion that's in the favor of SEO. So I don't just say, hey, we got to do this because of this. I mean, I do sometimes do that. I am guilty of that. But it's always better to persuade than it is to say, this is the way it has to be done, or this is the way it needs to be done. I like to show opportunities or gaps whenever possible. Let folks see, oh, wait a minute. Yes, I see why you're pointing that out, Charles. And ask questions. Make sure you understand what the goal is, especially in large organizations. Maybe there's a specific product or service, or there's a specific campaign that's taking place. Ask lots of questions so you can understand how SEO fits within that project. So the first thing I always like to do whenever I'm pitching SEO is an organic opportunity chart. It's very straightforward, very simplistic. So what I do is, it's a simple bar chart. On the left-hand side is the keyword or keyword footprint. So it's either one keyword or basket of keywords. That's the organic opportunity. That's the amount of traffic that those keywords get in a month. I guess you could do this 1 quarter a year, but I always do monthly. The next bar is always our site. How much traffic are we getting on that keyword or basket of keywords? And then I'll show the top 4 or 5 competitors. And really the goal of this chart is to show, hey, here's the opportunity. Here's how our competitors are doing against it. And here's how we are doing. Now, suddenly from an SEO point of view, it stops being a conversation of should we do it? And it becomes a conversation of, okay, we obviously need to do this, and how should we do it? So this is a great example of how I say I don't pitch, I educate and persuade. And so this is a great chart for educating folks and the opportunity and sometimes how far behind you are the competition. And then so often the question will be, all right, well, if these folks are outranking us, if they're getting more traffic for this keyword footprint than we are, how is that? How are they doing that? And so often I'll do something like a keyword gap. Now, this is a large keyword gap. This is showing over 250 keywords. So it can be with 10 keywords, it can be with 1,000 keywords. Doesn't really matter the number of keywords, but really the principle is the same. I show the competitors. I show our site on the right hand side, and I break it down in a bunch of different ways. I like to show how many number ones in Google do we have versus our competitors, how many top threes, how many top fives, and that next batch is how many are in the page 1, page 2, page 3. And the reason I break it down is because often someone may look like they're doing really well. Let's take that first competitor. They have a lot of page ones. As a matter of fact, they have the most number of page ones. But you'll see they do have the most number of number ones, but most of their keywords are just in the top 5. So they're not number 1, 2, or even 3 for most of their keywords. So that kind of tells a little different story. Same with competitor number 2. I think that's an even better example where they have 85 keywords in the top on page 1, but when you look at the top 1, 3, and 5, they actually have very few keywords in the top 5. So it gives you a better story, more nuanced story about the strength of your competitors and the strengths of ourselves. So we look all the way to the right-hand side, we can see that we have 92 keywords in page 1, but you can see of that, really only about a third of them are in the top 5. So there's still opportunity. Then below that, I'll actually have a breakdown of each individual keyword and how each person ranks for that keyword. I like to have the average search volume, monthly search volume in there. I also like usually put in the average CPC, just so you can understand the value of the keyword. So for example, should we work more to rank for that first keyword? Or should we work more to rank for the second or third keyword? Well, if we look at the average cost per click, we can see the second and third keyword are most likely a higher value. So sometimes it's worth not always going after the highest volume term, but looking for the terms that are going to drive the most value. If we can replace paid clicks with organic clicks, that's a net savings right there.
Yeah, exactly. That's one thing I love when you kind of showed that average cost per click right there. Like right away, if you can show this customer or this competitor is getting this much traffic from this page with these keywords, this is how much you're going to spend to get that traffic right away. That can help a marketer figure out, okay, what's the value of this traffic? Like what is this worth for me to invest in? And that can be a great way to get that buy. And I love that part of your chart there.
Yeah, and that's always a good conversation to have. Say, okay, if we wanted to rank for, let's just say, oak Amish furniture,
Yeah.
do we want to pay 85 cents a click? Or do we want to work? And then what would that cost to do that? And then how long do we want to have to do that? And now you can actually compare channel to channel. You can compare a paid channel to an organic channel from an actual cost versus return.
Yeah.
So then often folks then after this chart, folks say, well, how is competitor 1 ranking number 1 or number 2? And why aren't we ranking number 4 or number 5? Now, often SEOs will hear, oh, well, we don't want to change our page. We don't want to change our sales pages. Our sales page has been perfectly crafted and we can't change any of the words in there. And again, I don't try to argue. I try to persuade or I show folks, well, let's just take a look. If we look at, I do an optimization gap. Now, this is done at a page level. I'll take the keywords we want to rank for on the upper left-hand side, and then I'll include some co-occurring keywords. These can be LSI keywords, entity keywords, TF-IDF. It doesn't matter the kind of keyword you're using. It's really just co-occurring words that would naturally come up in a conversation on the subject. And I'll often show, well, you can see on the left-hand side, this is our site. Look at all the reds. Look at all the words that we are missing versus the average of our competitors, or even competitor 1, competitor 2, competitor 3. And you'll notice that that the folks that rank better will tend to have more of the related keywords on their page. So again, I'm not here saying we must do it because we have to make the SEO gods and the Google gods happy. It's, well, let's just look at the data. What is the data telling us? The data is telling us that folks that use more co-occurring terms have a tendency to rank better. So maybe we should consider doing that ourselves on our pages.
Love it.
So I always, I always like to say SEO is marketing, but with search engines. So there's a marketing funnel. We're all aware of the marketing funnel. There's awareness at the top of the funnel, consideration, decision. And when looking at SEO, we have to realize that SEO is this entire funnel. SEO can be at the top, it can be in the middle, it can be at the bottom. And we have to understand what keyword bucket or what page, because each page is going to want to rank for a certain keyword bucket. We need to understand how is that supposed to be working in the funnel. And then we need to make sure we have the appropriate goals and KPIs assigned to it. So for example, if I can rank somebody, I'll take some examples from my past. I worked for a company that did Halloween costumes. And for a couple of years, we ranked in the top 3 for the term Halloween, which was amazing amount of traffic. I mean, like ridiculous amounts of traffic. It actually had server problems with so much traffic, but it didn't convert very well at all. It actually converted very, very poorly. So what does that mean? That was a good campaign, a bad campaign? And my answer would be, well, it really depends. What are we doing with the traffic once we get it? What's the value of your brand being seen for a top level term like that? It's hard to put a dollar value on it because those folks won't convert. But if everyone who's searching for that top level industry term is finding your brand and your brand first, or one of the first rankings in Google, that's super, super valuable. And so one of the things I was already discussing, or kind of touching on, is what are you doing with that traffic? And that's very important as well. And I know Michael talked about his, he talks about, you can do some SEO, sometimes you can do a little CRO work with clients. While SEO is about ranking, you do have to think about, from a business standpoint, what are you going to do with that traffic? Another great example I had is I worked for a company that did party supplies. And we had these party guides where it would show you how to do a princess party or an outdoor digger party or whatever. And the cool thing with that is they got a massive amounts of traffic. The bad thing was it got very little conversions. So we said, well, we can say, well, we don't like these pages, we don't like these keywords, we don't like this traffic, get rid of it, which really is kind of silly. I mean, if you owned a store, would you kick out people who didn't buy the first time they walked in the store? Obviously not. You'd want these people coming to the store and browsing and seeing everything you have. The key is you want to capture them somehow. When you're online, you have to capture them because they're not physical. So with these guides and with the example we had for Halloween, we made sure that these users were seeing a sign-up box for a newsletter, for our newsletter, for our opt-in, for specials and deals. And now we took that traffic, those cold leads, and we turned them to warm leads. And then we can just start retargeting. We can start retargeting with our newsletter. We could also retarget them using ads. So that's how these different channels can work in tandem. The organic can bring people to the top of the funnel. Now we can cookie them. Now we can retarget via paid ad. Now we're monetizing this top of the funnel traffic. Now we're making our ads more, we're making them perform better because now it's going from a cold lead to a warmer lead. So you have to think about where you're bringing these people in the funnel and what you want to do with them once they land on the page. They're not all going to buy right off the bat, and that's okay, but you have to have a plan for them.
Yeah. And just one thing I always like to tell people and show people when it comes to like why you shouldn't shy away from top of the funnel or mid funnel traffic is the funnel is a actual representation of how many people you can reach and get in front of. Most people in organic search are at the top of the funnel or the middle of the funnel. Very, like only a small number of searches happening, comparatively are happening at the very bottom of the funnel. So if you decide to ignore this, the higher up portion of the funnel there, you're missing out on the vast majority of people that you could be reaching your total addressable market there. Like you're missing out on most of them because you're not speaking to them. So you're then playing a gambling game of hoping that you can get them just at that moment that they're ready to buy, rather than getting introduced to them early, staying top of mind for them at each step of the way, and then you're in prime position when that buying decision comes.
Another an example I always like to use, or analogy I always like to use, is imagine again that storefront scenario. Let's say you had high rankings, but maybe didn't get a lot of click-throughs for whatever reason. That would be akin to having a sign on the road where your store was. Would you then say, no, we got to pull that sign down because none of those people are jamming on their brakes and coming to the store? No, you want that sign there and you want to keep it there and you want to keep that ranking. Same with the traffic, that people that may be coming to your site and then leaving. Those are people that are looking through the windows or maybe coming in real quickly and then leaving. Again, yeah, you'd want all these people to buy. Sure, I understand that, but you wouldn't want to chase that traffic away. You want those people. You need to bring in as much of the top of the funnel as possible. And when folks try to use organic to solve just that bottom of the funnel, it ends up being disappointing because it does so much more than that. And you really sell SEO short.
Right. Is this the end of your slides?
Yep, this was the end of my. I'm gonna stop sharing. I'll give it back to you, Michael.
I'll steal it back. All right. So Charles talked a little bit about kind of like the on-page gap analysis. When it comes to on-page and kind of some technical SEO. I really like when he first showed me that this was what he's kind of planning on doing with his portion of the webinar. I was really excited because a lot of what I do when I'm researching for clients is a gap analysis from a content perspective. Really, for us, content is at the basis of an SEO strategy for us, and how I view it. The way I think about it is, if you don't have content that's answering the questions and answering the search intent, then you're not going to rank for it. If the keywords aren't on your site, the questions aren't being answered, you're not going to show up. Some ways to kind of think about coming up with what things you need to answer, what you need to help with. Understand what your audience's pain points are, and not just as it pertains to your product and service. This is what we were talking about earlier with that kind of top of the funnel content. Think about your audience and the challenges they're facing. And I have a really good example here of a site that I've talked about on so many webinars now because I just love their content strategy, and we'll talk about here in a second. The other thing to think about is, what are the panic questions that your audience searches for, at 1 o'clock at night, that, these are great ways to become a trusted source. If you can provide people peace of mind, answer their questions, and solve their problems when they're in a panic, it's just a great way to build trust with them early on, or even in that final buying decision moment. And then, last, if you need to know what your clients or customers are asking about, what they're struggling with, what their challenges are, talk to your sales team, and then talk to your customers themselves. Ask them those questions and find out what it is that brought them to talk to you in the first place. And that can start giving you an idea. But one of the things that I really recommend doing is analyzing your competitors' content. Just like Charles showed us earlier with this deck, if you can see that you've got competitors that are driving X amount of traffic more than you, that's a great indicator that that's what your opportunity is. That's what you have to gain. There's growth here that can happen for you. And so what I like to do is, I like to see is like, what is driving traffic for my competitors? And if you have content that they have that you're missing, then you should probably have it too. So this really helps you get a good read on what the opportunity is for growth. So, if your competitor drives 10,000 visitors per month with their blog, then you know that you have at least that kind of opportunity yourself. So one of the things that I like to do is I create these keyword pivot tables of competitor content. This might feel overwhelming, but one of the things I'm doing, and let's see if I can do the poll for it now even, I'm offering a free, I'll send it out in a minute. I'll walk you through and send you a free video of how I create these, and you can kind of learn how to create these yourselves. But one of the examples I pull up here is this brand called Patriot Software. So let's say I'm a competitor of Patriot Software. They are a payroll software. One of the things that you can see that they just do an amazing job of is just like anything accounting or payroll related, they are answering that question. These guys are all in on top of the funnel things. Like, they know that if somebody who runs payroll for a company asks these questions, they know they're getting introduced to these people early on. And you can see here, right? This is showing me now how much traffic are they getting from each article. And so just from their top, 25 articles or so, they're driving 37, almost 38,000 visitors per month. So I know these are valuable articles. These are good traffic here. And then what's cool about these pivot tables is you can even then see, okay, what specific keywords are driving traffic for them underneath each page. So you can see both the pages that are driving traffic and then the keywords that each page is getting traffic, or that is driving traffic for each page. So this is a great first step to kind of help you start to see, like, okay, how are my competitors driving traffic? Which pages, and then which keywords are they using for those pages? So I sort by the sum of traffic. And then one thing you want to do is to figure out and start to give you a little bit of an idea of, okay, how much is this going to actually cost me to rank for this? is to look at the number of backlinks that the page has. So one of the things that I did here is I pulled this up and I went ahead and just grabbed each page here from the top 25 or so results and put them in SEMrush. And I started seeing, okay, like one of these pages has 135 backlinks pointing to it. So, that might be an expensive keyword to rank for if, you have to then attribute resources and effort to go and try to get backlinks. But there are quite a few pages here in their top 25 that don't have very many backlinks pointing to it. But one thing as well, before you get overwhelmed by the sheer quantity of links, is to actually look at what are the quality of the links that exist here. Because one thing that I noticed was that on the social security page that has, supposedly 83 backlinks, is that once I scroll down here, I start to see a lot of this is just spam, right? Like tons of this is just spam domains that aren't going to be really valuable links that Google's even paying attention to. So try to get, and when I looked at all their other content articles, or sorry, all their other backlinks for their content, I found that about 50% or more of links to all these pages were spam. So what you can start to kind of figure out is, okay, so how many of these links are spam? What realistically do I actually need to do from a link building perspective? So I can probably cut this in half in terms of the number of links that I would need to be competitive with a lot of these pages. So this is just a great way for you to kind of get an idea then of, okay, these are the keywords, this is the traffic opportunity. From there, how many backlinks is it going to take me to have to, be able to compete for this keyword? And you can really start to get an idea of what output you're going to need to rank for these keywords. And then tying that back, how much would you have to pay in advertising, in PPC to capture that traffic versus how much would it cost you to get your SEO factors in place to be able to rank for those keywords. So if you can find pages on your competitor sites with high traffic, with low backlinks, and that align with your buyer's journey, that fit well with what you're trying to do, get that content created. Like that's a great place to start with your content strategy. And then ultimately finding those pages with the low links, that's a great place to get started with your link building strategy and seeing how can you exploit that gap that your competitor has. The next thing we want to talk about is just the value of first-party data. SEO is going to continue to grow in its value because when it comes to tracking and cookies, things are getting tighter and tighter with laws and regulations across the world in terms of how marketers are able to track. Even Google, they posted an article just recently on phasing out third-party cookies in Chrome. So having that, internal data is going to be so important. Use your SEO as a way to get people introduced to your brand, to get them into your funnel. And then like Charles was saying, get them to sign up for a newsletter, get them to sign up for a webinar, get them to find ways that you can provide value to them that will get them to, submit their email to you. And then now you can market to these people and nurture them as you see fit. So use SEO to bring them into the top of the funnel and get them into your email list and nurture from there. This is a great example. This is a client that we worked with. And this was a great way to show how this is ROI right here. They were getting $4,000 per month of visitors from their blog. And then they started driving $16,000 per month with their blog. And the way that we did this was we jumped in and looked at, okay, what are your blog articles that are driving traffic right now? What are the ones that are driving conversions? What does the CRO look like on these pages? Do we need to have some call to actions? Do we need to have some pop-ups here? We were strategic in how we set those up. We also, continued to add more traffic to the site by creating great content. And we were able to triple the amount of money that they're getting from their blog by doing this. So this was a great example of the value of that first party of getting people into the website, getting them enrolled, using that blog content to do that. Because this was all informational blog content that drove this traffic. So this wasn't that bottom of the funnel traffic. This was top and mid funnel, but very easily the client was able to see the value that this was driving for them as they saw the revenue come up from their blog traffic. So the last thing that we want to talk about is how do we know this came from SEO? So let's say you did everything that you wanted to do. You delivered it. Often, even with Resolve, we'll have clients ask us, well, how do we know that your links did this? How do we know that your content did this? So the first thing that you'll want to do from the very beginning of your project is hypothesize. When you're pitching your project to them, a lot of what Charles and I showed you was show them the opportunity, show them what it is that you're trying to capture and do. From there, tell them how you're going to capture it. What are the logical steps that you're going to take to get there? Have clear, defined goals. If you say, hey, these are the 5 pages that I'm really focusing on, I'm testing this out on these 5 pages, this is what I'm going to do to close these gaps, and this is what I want to see from it, and then that ultimately comes to fruition, it's really easy then to say, I hypothesized this, I did this, and this is what happened. You have all that documentation showing that you got the result that you desired to get. The other thing is to understand your business. Understand what your average lifetime value is of a client. Understand what a conversion value is on your site. What is your typical conversion rate? These are things that can help you to project ROI for, within your company, and show them like, hey, if we increase this amount of traffic to the page, this is our average conversion rate of those people, and this is the average value of a customer. That can start to give you some ideas of projections so that people can kind of quantify the value of what you're doing. Next, if you don't have analytics or Google Search Console going on your website, get them going. Otherwise, you won't know. And again, even Charles and I said there are issues with attribution, where, and Charles, if you want to talk about it for a second, you can, but like, Google will sometimes will call organic traffic direct traffic. Sometimes it'll call it referral traffic. I mean, Charles, what are some of those examples that you've seen?
Yeah, so Google Analytics for sure does this. I'm sure all the different packages will do this, but I've gone into Google Analytics. I've seen, so for example, Google News get called referral traffic. Well, that's clearly an organic funnel. I've seen Discover traffic, that's from Google Discover, come in being called direct traffic, when that's clearly not direct traffic. It's coming in from a very specific organic or SEO type of channel. But I've seen other things too. I've seen, if you look, so what you want to do is you want to look at your different sources. So in Google Analytics, you can look at your different sources and mediums, and then you can always, then once you're in that specific group, look at the actual referring URL. And you can start seeing, hey, wait a minute, why is Facebook being called direct? No, it's a social channel, and it may be paid social, maybe organic social. So that's another reason why you want to set up your UTM codes, your tracking codes. Whenever you do a specific paid campaign, set up those UTM tracking codes so that you know and you can properly attribute everything. Yeah, Google Analytics is very, very lossy. Search Console is even lossier. So you want to make sure you understand your data. And the big programs, the Adobes and whatnot, they can be just as lossy if you're not really, really sharp on what on your setup, and constantly checking it. Don't assume set up once and then it's good forever. You have to keep constantly checking it.
Absolutely. And then my last thing here, speaking to what we talked about earlier, how SEO addresses things at the top middle of the funnel, is track everything. Track those direct conversions that come from SEO, but also conversions like email signups, webinar sign up, anything that is driving people into a marketing funnel from the organization. Make sure you're keeping track of those. If you have seen that there's more conversions from email signups from your SEO efforts, and then in turn, now more revenue has come from email marketing, like keep those things in mind, because those are all different SEO, revenue streams that you could be attributing back to SEO that might get mixed up in the shuffle if you're not tracking it. So the last thing here is one of the important things of tracking all this is just this good quote. When performance is measured, performance improved. When performance is measured and reported back, the rate of improvement accelerates. So the more that you track, the more that you report and, kind of cross-channel, keep track of everything, the more efficient you can be in knowing where to put your effort and your opportunities to grow. All right, so here we are. We're back. We're here at workshop AMA time. Charles, anything else you wanted to summarize with before we jump into the workshop section?
Yeah, I really liked your last slide. It talked about, you have a hypothesis. So often SEOs, they don't approach their craft. We don't approach our craft scientifically. We become what I've heard, guessio. No, we're SEOs. We shouldn't be guessio. I didn't make that up. I'm just going to steal it. But and it really goes on to say, we're gonna have a campaign. Any good SEO should be say, all right, this is what we're doing. We are doing X. Now it may take 2-3 months to do X, but we're gonna do X, and we're gonna do X for this work, these keywords or these pages. So we should be able to say what we're going to do. We should be able to say what we expect to see happen. Now the level of impact is always going to be different based on keywords and pages, but we should start to see results. And how do you know it came from SEO? It should be repeatable. We should be able to do, we should be able to do this for this page and see an improvement. Then we could do it for this page, and we should see some level of improvement. Then for a third page, we should see some level of improvement. That's the key to how do we know it came from SEO, is it should be repeatable.
Yeah.
And to your last point, Michael, I'll often track all channels. And then once the SEO campaigns start, it's not unusual that as you start seeing SEO lift, you suddenly magically start seeing all these other channels lift as well. Direct, referral traffic,
Yeah.
even paid traffic, all starts lifting. And that's because you're getting that top of the funnel traffic. You're making your brand more well known to your potential customers, and they're more likely to click on a paid ad or more likely to follow a link from another website.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fantastic. All right, well, let's go ahead and jump into it here. So we got a few websites that were submitted right away. One I would love to look at is Darn Tough, Vermont. Darn Tough is darn socks, is what they make there. And I love niche sites like this. One of my favorite clients right now, I just did a case study about them recently, is a client in the sewing industry. And just with the way that Google's going now when it comes to eat, like those brands that really have a defined expertise, area that they're an topical authority, that kind of thing, it's working really well. So I love a brand that's just like, hey, you know what? We're great at socks. Darn Tough Socks. That's what we do. So one question I have for you, Charles, because I'm seeing it on a couple of brands, and this is something that you and I talked about, I want to say like 4 or 5 years ago, was the order of keywords in a title tag. I wanted to ask you this. Do you have any like input on this? Does it matter doing your brand name first, followed by keywords? Should you try to put your keywords first? Is that going to affect rankings?
So I'm going to give you two answers.
Yeah.
So I just did a pitch about how you have to be scientific about it. So I'll give the scientific answer. I'll tell you what I do.
Yeah.
What do? I always lead with the most important keyword. Now, with that said, here's what testing has shown me, because I love doing testing. So number one, I have learned that the title tag length is nowhere near as important as most folks will claim it is. As a matter of fact, you can't have a title tag that's too long. I've learned that in my testing. I have put keywords after up to 100 characters, 200 characters, 300 characters. Google is still ranking the page on that keyword. And there didn't seem to be, when I took all my different pages, I actually wrote an article about this years ago. When I took and put the results in there, when I took all my pages and did a little correlation analysis, I found a very weak correlation between where the keyword was in the title tag and how that page ranked, with one exception. When you had just the keyword in the title tag all by itself, that page always ranked number one. And so then I ended up going into a whole test. Is it keyword frequency? Is it density? What is it? And it's kind of a density thing. There is actually a keyword density factor in Google's algorithm, either implicitly or explicitly. There's a factor in there. I'm not saying have one keyword title tags. That's not what I'm suggesting at all. What I do is I typically do a title tag, usually up to about 100 characters, give or take. I don't care if it truncates. It does not matter at all if it truncates from an SEO point of view. I like to keep the relevant keywords in the front of the title tag, because I'm a creature of habit, but it's also good for the search results. When users are looking at the search result, you want to see the keywords that they're searching on the search result.
Very cool. And actually, now that I look at it, I mean, they did kind of then swap when they've got their category page that actually is ranking for merino wool socks, their main keyword. They're leading with it. And then best wool sock as well after that. And then they got their competitor here who did go a little bit more simple on their title tag there. So it'll be interesting to see that. Most on-page optimization is looking quite similar though. I'm seeing, both the headers, H1s are the same. I want to scroll down. Okay. And then let's see this. So one thing I've really loved lately, with e-commerce brands specifically, is adding in like an FAQ, or like some additional questions or information or content at the bottom of category pages. I've seen that pages that do that consistently have ranked better. So that'd be one thing I would look at on this page. Like Duckworth has a little bit of additional content, and they're the only brand that's currently outranking you for merino wool socks. So one thing you might want to look into is adding in just a little blip at the bottom of your page. It shouldn't affect your conversion or anything like that, but it could potentially help you rank a little bit better. Also, if you can add in some FAQs, answer questions people have about merino wool socks, that can also increase the number of keywords that your page can rank for. One thing as well, just to kind of look at it here, let's see if we've got any information on just like backlinks. How are we doing? How are we doing on internal linking? These are all things I like to look at. So we've got 4 referring domains. Duckworth has 16. So we do have a slight, link gap. One thing as well, especially when it comes to conversion pages that are harder to get backlinks to, is how are we doing on our internal linking? So Duckworth has what, 21? And then let's pull up ours here. We've got 63. So we're doing better on internal linking. So really one of the biggest gaps I'm seeing is external links and then maybe some additional content on the page. That would be something I would look at doing to kind of increase competitiveness with that page there. Charles, did you want me to send you over anything to have you take a look at this one?
So yeah, I was looking at the sock site as well. And the first thing I ran to from the homepage as the SEO is the sock sizing chart, because I saw, oh, that's amazing. What a great piece of content for link building. What's a great piece of content. Now, this is a great page for just what we were talking about. We can bring in amazing amounts of traffic to this page. Now, I will be the first to agree that, yeah, this traffic probably won't convert well, but that's okay. You want to, number one, that's how you're going to capture them. So you can have a pop-up, you can do your capture, you can even give people a specific cookie for this page so that you can retarget them, because there are people that are looking for socks. If you could stop right there, Michael, or actually pull up just a little bit so let's picture the socks. I think you've got two great opportunities, specific tactics you can do. So number one, I like that image to the left. We definitely want to do some image SEO on that. I see you are ranking in Google Images for the one on the left-hand side, but that animated GIF on the right-hand side, what I would do is I would break that into, what is that, 5 or 6 different individual images, optimize each of those images so that people, and you could put that in your, if you have, I don't know if there were pages for 1/4 sock, micro, crew, boot sock, like an actual image of what each of these things are on those individual pages would be good. If not, I would do it in here. I would optimize each of those images so that when people start searching things like sock height, sock sizing, you want your images just showing up all over the place, both at the top of Google and in Google Images. And then the next thing that would be amazingly awesome, I saw lower down on that page, you had a video, and I'm thinking, great, let's do some video SEO, both on YouTube and on Google. So if this, and I didn't watch the video, I'm assuming that this video either explains the different types of socks or explains how to size your socks. You might be worth having 2 different videos, one that talks about the types of socks you carry, one that talks about how to size socks. And then what would I do with that video? I would do 2 things. Number one, I would want to rank it on YouTube, and I'd want to, make sure we rank as high as possible on YouTube. And then I'd want that video, try to get that video to rank in Google. So again, it's top of the funnel traffic. These people aren't going to go in and buy immediately, but they're going to be aware of you now. I have never heard of Darn Tough Socks. I've never really thought too much about it. I'm going to look at this page now. I have already bookmarked it. I am going to look at this Darn Socks page and the Darn Tough Socks page, because it gives me information I didn't even really consider or think about. So this is a great, this is great for SEO. It's great for top of the funnel.
Yeah.
One
thing I really got into it's probably about 5 years ago. I did a presentation, and I got obsessed with this snowboard sizing chart for a snowboard brand. Like these kind of, and then like even like mattress sizing, like anything like this where you can hit like different types of sizes for things. Like people are Googling these so often during the buyer's process, top of the funnel. Like, so if you've got a product or something that has different sizes or sizing concerns or questions, if you don't have a page like this, like get it. Like, these are SEO, gold. So yeah, I agree with you. I like this page a lot, and you can see it's driving good traffic for them. 6,200 visitors per month. It is getting backlinks. So definitely good opportunity there. One question that came up from Judy Cooper was, what's a good strategy to get backlinks from reputable sites? Oh boy, that's a $1 million question there, but there's a few different ways to go about it. So one of the things that I always think about and I always kind of tell people is like the kinds of sites that you can get links from is only going to be as good as your content or your resources or the value that you can provide to them. So the first thing you need to make sure that you have is, I need something that reputable sites will actually want to link to and engage with. So one example of this is we've had a recent campaign where we were able to get links from like municipality websites, all kinds of what you just consider reputable, trustworthy sources. And we did it for this client. And so they're a B2B software for doctors' offices, which, you know what, you're probably not going to get a lot of people who just randomly want to link to that. So what we did was we found out that a lot of their physicians were really kind of like looking into Medicare related topics and things like that. So then we were like, okay, well, how can we use the Medicare topic to attract backlinks? So we created a guide for helping retirees navigate the healthcare system. Because what we found was that there were a ton of resource pages for seniors, for retirees, for Medicare on reputable, trustworthy sites. So we created this long form guide that kind of talked about Medicare, talked about retiring, talked about how the healthcare system works in that situation. This is valuable, helpful information that people might actually want to click and engage with. And what this helped us do is we got a link from the Coast Guard. Like, you talk about like a reputable source. I mean, this is pretty dang trustworthy and reputable. Google will like this link. They have a retiree services page, and we got a link from this because we created a piece of content. We got a link from, is it the city of Taylor? Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, there you go, city of Taylor. We got a link from municipality website for the city of Taylor because they had a senior services section within their site. So again, like if you want to get links from reputable sources, a lot of it is figuring out what are the reputable sites out there. And a lot of people jump to edus or .govs or these types of things. But again, what I think about reputable to me is like, is this a website that actually serves a purpose outside of SEO? Does this site actually have an engaged audience and real people that visit it and use it? And then from there, how do I help the people that these websites serve? And if you can think about the audiences of the sites you want links from, that's what's going to help you create content that will get backlinks. And that's what we try to do a lot of the time. Charles, I saw you were typing up a response. Did you have some thoughts?
Yeah. So the first thing I'm going to say is, and this is a great question that Judy asks, because not everyone, but most people are thinking this. Oh, how do I get more links? My first challenge will be, are you 100% positive that links is your problem?
Yeah.
There's a lot of times people say, I need more links. I need more links. Maybe you just need better optimization on the page. Maybe the links aren't the problem. Now, let's just take that and say, all right, links are the problem. Then my next point would be, and Michael, he nailed it perfectly. Think about link and link building and link sources. It's kind of like, it's no different than marketing. You are trying, are you satisfying the needs of the person on the page that you want your link from? So often I used to believe this as well, like, oh, no one will ever link to product pages. No one link to product pages. Well, that's not true at all. People link to product pages all the time if it's something they really, really want. A simple example of this, when I worked for Verizon, I worked with the Fios division they do their internet, their internet service. We used to get high quality links to our internet service. Why? Well, we would go to municipality pages and they would have these basically like these, I call them onboarding, but that's, these like new residents, and they would give links and phone numbers and links to the, trash service and the phone service and the internet service. And often we weren't on there. So I would just reach out to all the different municipalities and be like, hey, we're a service. They were linking directly to our sales pages. We had high quality links directly to the sales pages. Now, often people say, well, yeah, of course, Charles, because that was Verizon.com and everybody's going to, no one's not going to link to Verizon.com. So I'd say, okay, well, there's other scenarios where I've had people link the pages that solve a specific purpose. Going back to my days with costumes and Halloween supplies, we used to get a lot of, now these weren't, I won't say they're not reputable sites, but they were small sites. They had low domain authorities and page ranks and all these things, but they were super niche. They were sites that would do Halloween parades and the haunted houses and the haunted Halloween rides. We used to get links like crazy to our sites from those, because what would we do for them? We would link to them. We would make mashups in our Facebook pages or whatnot and list them on a board. Say, hey, look, we create a mashup of all the different haunted Halloween rides, in the United States. We put you in there. If you would like to, could you link back to us? And they typically would link back to us without a problem, because we're providing them value and they're happy to provide us value back. So first, number one, is links the problem? If it is, it really goes down to, are you, again, just like Michael said, are you really satisfying the need of the person on that page? If you're not, you don't want to try to get a link, and a link wouldn't really help you that much.
Yeah, that's one thing. Like, I've been doing link building for 11 years now. So like, I love links more than anybody out there, but yeah, I do often have to sit down with clients and do exactly that. Charles, like, are links actually your problem here? Like you wanted to rank for this keyword, but you are trying to address an informational intent keyword with a commercial page. Like we need to get the right page, the right content up here if we're going to rank. Like, so yeah, I agree 100%. Like if the on-page factors are in place, if you're not answering search intent, if links are kind of the icing on the cake at the end of the day. So if you don't have that foundation there, then they're going to struggle. The other thing I saw here, Judy, you asked, did you have campaigned out, reached out to those municipalities? Yes. If you build it, they will come does not necessarily apply when it comes to link building. There's promotion that needs to happen in outreach. And so that's a lot of what we spend our time doing. Okay, let's see here. Do you have recommendations for getting video pages to rank on Google? Charles, I will let you chat with that one here in a second. Real quick though, we did have one other site I wanted to look at, and this is one I haven't even been able to look at myself yet. So I'll be doing this one cold here, but this is Prosegur .us. They are security you can trust. So innovative security tailor-made for your organization, your strategic partner in security. So
I'd like to make a quick note about this website. Yeah. When I went to it, one of the first things that happened is I had a big pop-up, a big interstitial popped up and told me, hey, do you want to take cookies or not cookies? Now, Google has said, oh, if you're asking people if they're willing to accept cookies or doing age verification, those kind of pop-ups won't hurt you at all. I'm not convinced that's 100% accurate. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I have seen many, many times, and in the last 6 months, interstitials that pop up on a page, even ones that really should be there or aren't really intrusive, actually impact the SEO because it impacts the crawler. So that's from a very technical side. I'm not saying it's causing any problems in any way, shape, or form. It may not be. It's just something I noticed, and I want to bring it up that I have seen interstitials, even ones that theoretically should not be causing any problems, actually do cause problems. So sorry, Michael, I'll let you go from there.
No, I've seen the same thing though. Like it can slow down page speed and stuff like that, and the way that Google's looking at the page. So yeah, I definitely seen that as well. One thing I had a question about was just like in terms of just overall like keywords, like are we clearly telling Google what we do specifically? Like I know it's security, but like what is the keywords or phrases that people are using to find the type of security that you offer? And so, I'd probably start looking at some of these pages, and maybe that is, maybe where you're trying to target those keywords a little bit more, but just, very clearly explaining what it is you do. One thing I want to start looking at is like blog. Like, so I always, as a content minded person, I always start off by just saying like, is our blog driving traffic? If we're going to devote time and resources into blogging, which it looks like for a while you were maybe like doing pretty consistently, but it looks like in 2023 it's tailed off a little bit. Let me see here. Okay, cool. So one of the things I will start to do is like, is our blog content driving traffic for us? And if it is, great. If it's not, why not? And so a lot of times I'll use like a tool like SEMrush, and I'll just pull up I'll filter by blog content. This is where running a webinar and having a bunch of tabs open will slow you down. But I like to filter by URL, and then I'll filter by blog. That way I can just see like what's coming from the blog from a traffic perspective. And are you getting, if you're putting effort into creating content, is it worthwhile? So I do like to look at that a lot of the time. And I am interested to see like, when it comes to the blog topics, how's that working? Sorry, it's taking a second here. All right, cool. So this is actually pretty good. It looks like you're doing a good job of kind of answering questions. So like, what do RFID tags look like? So I would start to look at that. I'd also start to look at like, what are some of the higher volume keywords that your blog is targeting? Are there low-hanging fruit opportunities there? So I mean, like GSOC security. So Global Security Operations Center look like, and this gets, a pretty good amount of search volume here. Another keyword that's related to the same phrase. So see right away, we're starting to see 2 keywords from the same article. So if you're looking at like a piece of content on your website and then GSOC up here as well, this could be a really good page to look at. And one thing I'm already looking at from a blog like just on page optimization perspective is we're not using our header tags very well in terms of like how to organize our article. So this is probably an H1 right here. But outside of that, I don't see a lot of hierarchy. Yeah, H1. But I'm not seeing a lot of like additional header page, tag hierarchy here. H2s, H3s under that. That's like a really good way to organize your articles for Google for them to see what keywords you're targeting, ask questions, answer questions, that kind of a thing. So I would definitely look into your blog and find ways to better optimize that from an SEO perspective. I think that could be a high impact way for you to start capturing traffic, especially for a brand that's kind of in that DA 30 to 50 range. I always see like blog content is often one of your best ways because you're authoritative enough that you can start driving traffic with your blog, but you're maybe not authoritative enough that you can outrank people for those main head terms. That's where I really see blog traffic as a way to grow. Charles, did you have any things that you looked at initially here? Any other thoughts for this one before we jump into other questions?
No, I got fixated on that pop-up. Like I said, I don't know it's causing a problem, but it's just something that I went down a rabbit hole once I saw that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's go ahead. We had a couple more questions that came up. I know we want to be able to answer for folks. One was from Jenny. She asked, do you have specific recommendations for getting videos on pages to rank on Google? We have several pages with videos where the video isn't indexed per GSC because video is not the main content of the page. So Charles, what thoughts do you have on that? I know it's something you spend a lot of time thinking about.
Yep. So a couple things I would do, Jenny. So number one, make sure that you have video schema. So if you have video object schema should be on any page where you have videos. I would also make sure that if you have a page, how many videos do you have? So if you have a page with 2 or 3 or 4 videos, most likely none of those individually will rank. So we want to make sure I would have one video per page. I would put it above the fold personally. That doesn't guarantee it's going to be seen as the main content, but it does help. Definitely, you pretty much have to have the video object schema. You also want to make sure that that video, the video content, the actual video file, the MP4, whatever it is, that is crawlable and indexable by Google. They want to crawl and index that content. They want to be able to serve snippets of your videos. Let them do it. You will be rewarded. So that's one of some of the other things I would do. You could also you could do a couple different things. What I would do is if you're still having trouble, see, I've seen scenarios where we'll have videos on pages or video pages even where for whatever reason, we don't get the video snippet. And sometimes we get the video snippet, sometimes we don't. Google changes around a lot on their search results, and they're constantly messing with things. So what you may want to try doing is take some of your videos, if you just can't get those video snippets nicely, is I take those videos, put them on YouTube. They're probably being I'm assuming you're hosting them on something like a Vimeo and they're not on YouTube. Move them physically to YouTube. You don't have to take them off Vimeo. You don't have to use YouTube on your site if you don't want to. That's fine. And then work to rank those pages. And then you would rank a YouTube page just like you'd rank any other pages, on-page optimization and links. Although because it's a Google property, they're going to be a little more likely to rank their own stuff over something on your site. So that's another little trick there too.
Awesome. Love it. Well, we got about 2 minutes left here. If anyone wants to submit any more questions, go ahead. I don't think we missed any others. I'm going to really quick here. I forgot to do this earlier. My bad. Just if you do want to receive the tutorial for the competitor pivot tables that I put together in the process for that, go ahead and just answer there. I will just shoot you a quick email with a link to a Loom video that I've made of me walking through it. So if you want to go ahead and check that out, go ahead and reply yes there. And outside of that, man, I was actually pretty impressed. I think about 80% of people hung out for the entire Q&A section. You all are a bunch of nerds, and I appreciate you and love you for it, for kind of geeking out with Charles and I while we went in deep on SEO stuff. So thank you all so much for checking it out and for attending the webinar. We'll do another one next month, and we'll plan on seeing you all there. Charles, thanks again for joining us. Your knowledge is always appreciated.
Thanks a lot for having me. It's always a blast.
All right, everybody. Thanks very much. We'll talk to y'all soon.